Hello, my name is Vanessa from Navistar Legal. In our last video we talked to you about iconic branding and we asked you to do a few things. We hope you've managed to implement some of those. In today's video we're talking to you about barriers to growth. Lawyers naturally fear failure and are risk averse. Effective business leaders do feel fear. They fear failure, but they don't get blocked by it. And this takes practice. For me, I started life as a lawyer and I've gone on a journey from being a lawyer to working in an entrepreneurial startup, which is Navistar. There's a constant atmosphere of ambiguity and complexity, having to make decisions quickly without the full picture. Embracing complexity and ambiguity is not just a cognitive challenge, it's an emotional one. And it requires courage, sitting in the discomfort of uncertainty and letting its rivers run through us. I'm frequently outside my lawyer comfort zone. I don't get the luxury of having the full picture of all the facts. For a small business, momentum and dynamic movement are vital, having to catch and ride the wave. I'm a skier and I love steep slopes, and I know that the steeper the slope, the more you have to commit to throwing your weight down the mountain. And this takes courage. And sometimes we fall and sometimes we fail. Failure is an essential part of seeing how to do things differently, learning to think around problems and real innovation. But the idea of failure can bring up really strong emotions. What I now see is that strong emotions are not a bad thing. You can trust them, but it's good to get sight of what's behind them, what's going on in your mind in the moment. There's information in emotion. Sometimes strong feelings are giving us a heads up that we're making us up a story about the future, some kind of projection, which isn't true, but it certainly can feel very real. We can see how our minds are routinely tricked into believing all of the thoughts that can flood in. My old way of dealing with fear, when I thought it was telling me about something out there in the future, was to stay in a comfort zone, my comfort zone of getting things right and doing things perfectly. This is a familiar, exhausting default mode, common for many lawyers. The idea that things could be good enough was just a non-starter. Fear is obviously vital and it's an evolutionary protection, and it is really necessary if you're up against a real threat, a real dragon or a bear. But it is possible to distinguish between what is a real threat to our survival and what is a creation of our mind. To recognise fight or flight and what's actually true in the moment. I've come to see that feeling fear is not wrong, it's not a mistake, but neither does it mean that I should or shouldn't do something or push me out of my comfort zone. Fear of failure doesn't stop me in my tracks. Courage and understanding and managing fearful emotions all move you in the right direction. So here are 3 things you can do on your own which have really helped me feel a lot freer when negative emotions pop up. When we're triggered, as little as 60 seconds breathing can be a really powerful way to maintain your psychological and your emotional equilibrium. Breathing is really present, there's nothing more present and in the moment. Begin to see if you notice that your emotions and sensations, what you can feel in your body, tend to mirror whatever conversation is playing out in your own mind at the same time. Fear, like any emotion, is created internally in your own mind, often by making up a story and believing it to be true. So thirdly, get curious. You may become aware of the natural ebb and flow of thought and emotion. The worst thing about fear or any negative emotion is feeling gripped by the thought that it will never go away. But you know this isn't the case. Like clouds in the sky, emotions and your experience is always changing. Fear moves through you and negative emotions move through you without creating any lasting damage. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and keep watching for our next video in this series.